Hi there, I'm Pip Waller and this is Being Human. And earlier today, I was talking with somebody about this topic and I thought, this might be useful for people generally. So we were talking about at the moment, the season of spring is like definitely has sprung. And it's that time of it that we're in the thick of spring now where you can pretty much some things, you can almost watch them grow. Every day you can see more of that bursting out, bursting up and forth, all the greening of the trees, all the flushing of the trees with their new leaves and the flowers everywhere. It's about growth. That's what this season of spring is about. So I wanted to talk a little bit about it from an understanding, a way of thinking about what is that energy and how it affects us all. And it affects us all anyway, anytime, but at the moment, many people are actually very, very restricted in what they're allowed to do and how much they're allowed to move. And that is the very opposite of what the energy of wood, the energy of spring and growth wants to do. So I'm going to talk a bit about it, and then I've got a few ideas or tips for you. This really is mainly for those people that are on the kind of lockdown where you're actually not able to go out, or able to go out very little. If you're somebody that's working all the time, you're going to have. It might be good to understand the seasonal energy, but you're going to have different needs within it. So this comes from a very, very beautiful and ancient 5-element theory or paradigm of the world, which talks about the elements, or these great energies that move through the world and create everything. And each one of them, there are 5, and each one's expressed through the seasons. So we think, there's only 4 seasons, but actually, bear with me, you've got spring, then you get summer, but then you get late summer, which is like the harvest time. But it's not autumn yet. It's not, it's like that first, when all the berries and the fruits are there, but it hasn't actually got cold yet. Autumn's when it starts to, you kind of, you get that cold, fresh air, and then the leaves obviously start falling from the trees. Anyway, so that's 4, and then 5, that's winter. So this is about spring. Now, actually, there's twice in the year where the season change from one to another is like the most dramatic. This is one of them, spring. Spring is like, woof, everything's coming right up from the ground. Autumn's the other time, there's a big drop down. And both of those are quite a challenge for our being, our body, mind and spirit to keep equilibrium, because such a dramatic change. So let's talk about spring. Like we call this energy, the spring energy in the 5 elements, it's called the wood element, the element of wood. And there's an interesting way to think about that. If you think about wood like a tree representing this amazing power of growth, and the wood element kind of somehow does this dance with all the other elements. Like you think of a tree, it's growing from the earth, it's taking in oxygen, that's air or metal in the 5 elements. It's using the beautiful fire of the sun, and it's drinking water, like drawing up water as well. So those other elements are all there, present in the beautiful wood that the tree is producing. So a key word about the wood element is growth. And you can see it, like I said at the beginning, everything's growing like mad. This energy, this wood energy, is not only responsible for the growth in that we're seeing, like with the spring, the bursting forth, but it's responsible for every bit of growth anywhere, every bit of growth in our bodies. In fact, you could say, if anyone that's ill and they're fighting, say, a virus or maybe something else, there's a necessity to grow some new cells to actually grow even a whole new type of immune cell, for example, or repair. All the repair and the growth in our bodies comes about from this energy of wood. So very important. So, and what's it like? It's like passionate, powerful, upward rising energy. Like if you think about bulbs underneath the ground, and then they push themselves, the actual force the strength to push themselves up above the ground, it's incredible. And if you look at there's some trees that are still in bud. If you look at the ones that are still in bud, you can see the buds they get sort of tight. The energy's like going into them, and they're pushed and pushed and pushed until they burst and the leaves open. Amazing force with wood energy, and an upward moving force. So now, because it's for growth, and growth isn't just a physical thing, it's also like, where are we going? There's something about growth, like an acorn's going to grow into a tree. It needs to have a vision. Where's it going to go? How's it going to get there? And also it needs a kind of determination and a push to get there, so like a drive. So that's this energy of wood, is a vision of where we're going and the drive to get there. So if we've got that going on and then something thwarts it, something gets in the way, let's say, I don't know, a tree's growing up and there's stones or something in the way, it's going to, the energy of wood can push through barriers. I mean, it's powerful. Think of like when you sometimes you'll see a plant, a dandelion or something, pushing its way through the road or the cracks in the pavement. They've got amazing, this power of growth is very, very strong. And when it's thwarted, it will push even harder. And so the emotion that we feel that's associated with this wood, the emotion that belongs with it, is the emotion of anger. And anger in all its forms, from like irritation and frustration, like, I wanted to do that and I can't do it, and that's frustrating, and that can give us the drive to, I'm just going to do it, I'm just determined, I'm going to do it. But obviously that also can include like really, really major anger and rage and so on. And just sort of mild irritation. But anyway, anger's got a bad press in our culture, and of course that's good, because in one way, because you don't want people like just losing their rag and hurting people, like that would never do. Of course it happens a lot. But we've got this thing where we don't understand emotions very well, so we're sort of, it's like the answer to having an emotion is to suppress it. And of course, if you're trying to suppress, you've got this powerful force rising up and you're trying to suppress it going down, you can imagine very easy for that to create illness and disturbance, both in the body, the mind and the spirit. So like a wood energy a wood energy that's trying to be expressed and isn't allowed to be and gets turned inward, that can very often comes out as a depression and a real stuckness of being completely stuck and not able to move forward in your life. So that brings me back to where we all are now, where many, many people are actually being kind of forcibly stuck. We're on like a hold. And we're on hold at a time when everything in nature, I'm talking about in the temperate zones, the Western Hemisphere, the temperate zones where spring is here, it might be different it is different if you're in the tropics, and if you're in Australia, you're in the autumn. So if you're in a place where spring is happening, everything around you is saying up and arise and forward and move, and you've got to stay home and possibly, in a flat with no access to outside, possibly with little kids, other people that are driving you nuts, or just on your own with driving yourself nuts and the loneliness driving you nuts, and also the absolute frustration, difficulty of not knowing when's it going to end and all of that stuff. So like a real block of power for a lot of people. So how to deal with it, thinking about it as an energy, thinking about it just as an energy and something that's going on with you. What can you do in the lockdown situation to allow your wood energy some expression, so it doesn't get pushed inwards and make you ill or feel crazy or mess your body up or whatever, come bursting out in different ways. So one of the things the wood energy does, it gives us the power to shout. So actually you can do some shouting practice. So now actually shouting doesn't have to mean that you're talking really loudly. It doesn't mean like necessarily yelling at the top of your voice. It's a kind of shout. It's a kind of an angry voice. So actually I think growling is really good as well. If you are going to do like loud shouting, get a pillow and seriously shout into the pillow so you don't freak out your neighbours and upset everybody, frighten the dog. You can do that, and you can also, what really is great is to bash something, like thump something, not a person or animal, and definitely not the wall either, because you'll just break your hand. Something soft. So I've got a sofa there. Make sure it's properly soft, because really, if you don't, you can whack it really hard. You can actually break your hand quite easily. So, and 10 minutes a day, 5-10 minutes a day of shouting and whacking, even of standing up and going, having a bit of a paddy, like, If you think about any little kids that you've known, and if you just allow kids to do things, you see when they're actually trying to do something, even very small kids, they're trying to stand and walk, they get really annoyed when they can't do it, and it's frustrating. And that frustration, they'll often have a paddy or get angry, and then that energy will give them like the whatever it is, the impetus or the strength to get up. I'm gonna have another go at that. So that's the energy, and you need to express it somehow. I personally think that's the right way to do it. And the other thing to say about it is that very often, if you do start to do that, express the energy of the anger in that way, you might get, very commonly, you'll get really hot. And actually, quite commonly, you start to do it and you can feel really weak and like you want to stop straight away. Try not to. I think what works is to set a timer or put some music on that's a certain length, if that helps you, and just do the shouting and bashing and growling and freaking out, whatever, for the set period of time. Even if you feel like stopping, make yourself do it. Yeah, do it every day. You'll go, oh yeah, okay, that actually has done something. If you've got space where you can do this, you've got a little backyard or something, you can get a couple of good logs, like a couple of logs, and just throw them. Maybe you've even got some old crockery that you could smash, like. Just allow that energy, the frustration to be expressed without judging yourself. You're not doing anything bad. It's an energy, you know. Emotions are like energy, and they rise up in us or they arise in us. And if we suppress them, we're literally blocking energy that's trying to come out. And that then can cause all sorts of things in the way that the energy moves around us. So, I think that was it. I can't think of anything else. Probably there was other things, but that will do. I'm Pip Waller, this is Being Human. Thank you for listening, and enjoy the ranting and raging.